hold the Christ candle. This beautiful flame represents the light that resides deep within each of us, a light of life and love that shines eternally and is available always, as close as our hearts. We are beings of divine light, and in these challenging times especially, nurture this love, nurture this light, and share it. Let your light shine. Good morning. My name is Mary Way, and I'm your prayer partner for today. As we prepare for our time together, let's close our eyes if you wish. Put aside all your worldly concerns. Still your busy mind. I don't know how busy your days are, but our minds are certainly busy. Let's set them aside for just a short while. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep cleansing breath. Breathe out and release all that is no longer serving your highest good. Rest in this peace and wholeness as we focus on our true divine nature. We are wisdom, understanding, and faith. We open our hearts with complete faith that limitless possibilities are ours, knowing that divine light shines in us and through us. For these blessings and the precious time together, we are truly grateful and say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mary. And once again, welcome to Unity Spiritual, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa's online Sunday service. My name is Brenda Mason, and before we start our service today, I would like to take this moment to recognize the Algonquin Nation, on whose traditional, unceded territory we gather to share this online service this morning. We gratefully acknowledge them as past, present, and future stewards of this land. Miigwech. We're going to start with song this morning. Stand together. Dance if you feel like it.
Something great is happening. Love has taken all that I won't let go of us now.
Something here is calling us forward, upward motion. It drops in one ocean. Roll on.
Will you rise up with me today? Lift up your voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with a world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now.
Oh, oh,
oh, oh.
every day's a chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion blazing and shining.
Paint with every vision, dance in new directions, explode to new heights in your mind.
I will rise up with you today.
Lift up my voice.
Lift up my voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now. Yeah. One dream, one voice, one heart, one world. One dream, one voice, one heart, one world. Stand together. One dream, one voice, one heart, one world. Stand together. There's a dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Yeah, yeah. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's the moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now. Stand together. Live the dream. New day dawning. Be the hope. Share your gifts. Stand together now. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's the moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now. Stand together. Live the dream. Be the hope. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together now. Stand together.
Oh, I feel like I had my morning workout. What a great song. Let's stand together. That's what we must do. I'm honored to be your service facilitator here this morning. You can see my name is Brenda Mason. And I'd like to ask everybody at some point this morning, first of all, to jump into the chat box and shove a lot of love towards Linda McCabe. Linda has done such an outstanding job, hasn't she? Along with Sheila, of launching our virtual Sundays. And Linda, you deserve the opportunity to receive this morning. And we are all so grateful for all the hard work that you've done to get the service developed. Week by week by week, it's gotten better and better. So I'm a rookie, and if the rookie stumbles a little bit along the way, it'll only be to make me better next Sunday, because I'll be back then. And I've been learning a lot these last few weeks about accepting what is, and just learning to kind of let it be. Excuse me. I don't know what you've been noticing, but for me, as the social isolation continues, I see us becoming more emotionally divided. So I think it's more important now than ever to meet together as a community and bring a few moments of presence and calm into this world that just seems to be getting increasingly emotional. Debrah Martin's talk this morning is timely and it's needed. And well, certainly it's needed for me. No accident I'm sitting here this morning, ready to receive this message. As someone who's sensitive to energy, I can feel the increasing conflict and the rising emotion especially amongst my friends on my social media. We're at some kind of tipping point here, I think, and our being in the light and being the light is more essential than ever. We have the ability to be the calm in the eye of the storm. So let's be that. Now, we're apparently outstanding visionaries, because aren't we finding ourselves smack dab in the middle of living our vision? An awakened world celebrating oneness. We do good work. So here we are, living this vision now. And what are we experiencing? I think this is a perfect time to affirm our vision together. An awakened world celebrating oneness. Our mission, expanding consciousness, transforming lives. And particularly, I feel this is a time where our biggest mission is within, expanding our own consciousness and transforming our own life. We're being given this opportunity by this isolation to look deeply into that. The Unity Worldwide Ministries theme for 2020 is Perfect Vision, seeing through a spiritual lens. Now, back up, Sheila, 1 second. Thank you. How many of us have examined our vision lately? What direction are we choosing to send our gaze? And what are the images we're filling our field of vision with? And I would just take a moment to think about those things. What are you looking at? What are you filling your field with? And choose images and news, especially, that uplifts you and supports you rather than instills more fear. What if we looked at the world with curiosity, which happens to be May's principle? What if, in spite of the current appearances, that curiosity led us to see a world of wonder?
The mind is the seat of perception of the things we see, hear, and feel. It is through the mind that we see the beauties of the earth and sky, or music, of art, in fact, of everything. That silent shuttle of thought, working in and out through cell and nerve, weaves into one harmonious whole the myriad moods of mind, and we call it life.
Moving on. Sorry, there's an affirmation that goes with this month, and it says, "I live in a world of wonder." And I'm sorry, Sheila, but I would just love for us to affirm that together. Together, I live in a world of wonder. Don't we just? I live in a world of wonder. Also, with the new month, we're turning our attention to another one of Unity's 5 principles, and this month it's the first principle: God is all. God is all good and active in everything, everywhere, and despite appearances. So, which direction are we turning our vision? What world are we choosing to see? And let it be a world of wonder. And it's all good. Okay, our announcements. First of all, calling all speakers. I don't know about you, but I have appreciated so much having the members of our community speak on Sundays, because we have some really deep, wise people here with much to share, and B, it helps me get to know you so much better. I see an aspect of you that I had never known was possible before. So if there's something you're kind of passionate about, think about giving a talk about it. You're in the safety of your kitchen, and we would welcome the opportunity to learn from you and more about you. So if there's something you're considering and you'd like to, and the other thing is, this is the time of release. Boy, if you were ever facing a fear, and this would be one of them, putting this together and doing it, now is the perfect time to jump right on it and let it go. It's our time of release and reform and reshape. So start becoming the new you in the new world. Contact the office. Staying in touch. Deb Maloney has, there's her email on the screen. If you need a little bit of extra support and you would like a phone call through the week, send Deb an email and she will put you on her list and someone will give you a call. And if you can also mention in the chat box, again, chat box is your best friend today. Just direct a notice to Deb, and she will get in touch with you. It's some of us are suffering a little more than others, depending on our circumstances and who we have around us. And we are great people to have around for each other. So Deb's the person to contact about that. And if you haven't already, get on the newsletter, because it's got the full details of all the information of what we know about what is going on in our community. You just send an email to officeunityottawa@yahoo.ca and you get on the email list, And usually Thursday or Friday, the email comes packed full of information about what's going on and what's coming up. And again, it's another way to stay in touch. Oldie but a goodie, it takes on a whole new meaning when there aren't any physical doors. So let's work on our own doors and swing them wide.
Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Here we go now. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. About lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. There's a voice that I've heard for years. I learned to keep it inside. Well, now it's coming in loud and clear. I want a deeper life. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. About lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. All right now, swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine.
my computer kept flashing up this little message that essentially said, You know nobody can hear you, right? You know, you know you're muted. Nobody can hear you. I was singing away that silent song. Ah. Sonia Schumacher has graciously offered to read today's daily word. So Sonia, I would invite you to please go ahead and unmute your audio and start your video and share today's daily word with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everybody. So today's daily word is world peace. I contribute to peace in the world. When I learn of conflict in my community or in the world, my response may be frustration, sadness, or anger. If I have those feelings, I remember that I am more than merely human. I am a living expression of God, heir to all that God is. I use my divine faculties of wisdom, understanding, and love to create the abiding peace that is my birthright. Centered in divine peace, I realize that every person is as much an expression of God as I am. As differences dissolve in a way that transcends human understanding, I come to know oneness with all the world's people. I let this realization shape my response to every person and every situation. In an awareness of my oneness with all people, my thoughts, words, and actions contribute to peace in the world. The glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may be one as we are one. John 17, verse 22.
Thank you, Sonia. Beautifully, beautifully done, Sharon. And if you would like to do as Sonia has and volunteer to read the daily word, please contact the office or put a note in the chat box today and let us know your interest, because we love all the different points of view. Our prayer partner on duty throughout this whole week is the beautiful Mary Way, and Mary's standing by now to take us through the prayer segment of our service. Mary, hello.
Hello. This month, we are focusing on the power of faith, which is the ability to believe, intuit, and perceive. And yes, these times require a lot of faith for sure, so how appropriate. The disciple is Peter, faith in God. The color is blue, and the location is in the center of the brain. Faith blesses my day and paves my way. Let's say that together. Faith blesses my day and paves my way. Today we're also praying for Unity Church of Mississauga, Ontario, and Unity of Barrie, which is affiliated with UC Ontario. So before we pray, let us take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a deep breath and feel the peace that passes all understanding. Be still and rest here for just a moment. Divine love and faith enfold us and those we care about in thoughts of strength and peace. So we bless all those whose names you have put forward into the chat box, those that you hold close in your hearts, that are in your minds, those that are unnamed, those people we know who are out there on the front lines, those who are taking care of business. We bless them with spirit of wholeness and vitality. As we breathe in again, we claim divine order in all their situations and circumstances of mind, body, faith, love, life. We open our hearts and minds in complete faith that all are blessed with the perfect peace of the universe. We see those we hold so dear calmed and soothed. For these blessed loved ones, relatives, friends, and colleagues, for our leaders, caregivers, and frontline workers, and for the one power and presence that is present in all things, we are truly grateful. And so we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Mary. And again, we acknowledge all the prayers that are being shared in our, I guess the chat box has also become our virtual prayer box. And we acknowledge and recognize and continue to pray for all that is placed there. Now, before I introduce our guest speaker, I just want one more reminder. If any of you are still on gallery view, I affirm that you have the wisdom and knowledge to switch to speaker view so that you can fully appreciate the content that's going to be offered by our guest speaker this morning. We're going to begin with the meditation, and then we'll have our talk. And this morning, it's one of our own, the beautiful Debrah Martin, who's sharing with us. Deb serves on the USCO board. She's a prayer partner. She writes our articles. She writes our articles for Tone magazine, and she is certainly a blessing to our community. She's also a wise woman. She knows a thing or two about navigating through times of transition. And this morning, Deb will be examining change and spiritual awakenings in times of change. So before Deb does that, she'll come back with us after the meditation. In the meantime, find a comfortable position and take a deep breath and let it go. Release. Close your eyes and enjoy a few minutes within. And then we'll be hearing from Deb.
Breathing deeply in and out. Bring your awareness to your breath in and out. Breathing into your eyebrows, into the space between your eyebrows. Turning your attention around, looking within, becoming the observer. Become your inner being. Become the energy that is truly you. This energy that is truly you is limitless. It is constantly connected to Source, to God. It is constantly free to move in the vast expanse that is everything. Feel the freedom of this being. Feel the connectedness it has with all. Feel the expansiveness, the limitlessness. Feel the love. Feel the life force of you. Feel the life energy that is truly you. Feel the natural flow, the grace. Feel the knowing. Feel the effortlessness of this energy that is you. It is I am. Feel this I am presence, this source that knows and loves you. Feel it loving you, understanding you. This is your intuition. It is who you truly are. You are energy. You are limitless. You are a part of and are one with Source energy. Feel this this inner being that is you, your soul. It doesn't doubt its worthiness of all good things. It doesn't doubt its receiving of constant love. It doesn't doubt its ability to be happy. It is free and it is freedom. It is awareness and consciousness, flowing love and abundance. This is you. This is the real you. Now, be aware of your mind. Look at your brain. It is tapped into survival because that is its job. Your body is tapped into functioning because that is its job. Now, if we see ourselves from this consciousness place and see how our thoughts are creating our level of existence, we can see how we are in the driver's seat. You can create your reality by thinking properly. Imagine, watch, or feel what happens to your body or what you bring into your life when you think negative thoughts. From the perspective of your inner being, observe what happens to your body and surroundings when you think thoughts of self-loathing, when you think thoughts of doubt, when you think thoughts of unworthiness, when you think thoughts of fear. Can you see, hear, or feel how that this thinking is not in alignment with who you really are, with what you really are? Now observe thoughts of love, compassion, happiness, fulfillment, expansion. Feel from the perspective of your higher self, your inner being, your soul, the one that is connected to Source. Freedom is the knowing that you are the thinker of your thoughts. You can be the thinker of your thoughts. You don't have to live with the illusion that your thoughts just happen and that they are separate from you. Who you truly are can have effect on your thinking. Higher mind, higher perspective, higher vibration, higher frequency. Bring your attention to your breath. Breathing deeply in and out.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, Brenda, for that flattering introduction, flattering and yet unwarranted. And a special thank you to Sheila. I haven't quite mastered Zoom to the extent that I can move my own slides, so Sheila graciously offered to be my remote control today. Thank you. Today I'll be talking about the book, Finding Yourself in Transition, Using Life Changes for Spiritual Awakenings. I thought it was really timely to introduce this book, and I highly recommend it if you haven't already read it. It's written by Robert Brummett. He started off as a computer scientist and then started experiencing migraines that went unexplained. No doctor could diagnose or treat them. And around the same time, he happened to attend 2 weekend self-awareness seminars, and the migraines vanished. He did, however, start to see things. He had visions, and he started hearing a voice. A bit later, the voice said to him, Are you ready to choose whether you're going to do the work you came here to do? Fast forward a few years, he became a Unity minister. This book is inspirational for a number of reasons, I think, not the least of which is that while we often understand intellectually that there are natural transitions, reorganizations at work, or now winter turning into spring, when change comes rapidly in our lives, as it has over the past several weeks, we may question the meaning and the purpose that we were in what we're experiencing. The book also helps us discover a deeper meaning in these unsettling events, and also reminds us that we are never alone, that the loving intelligence is ever present, guiding and directing our ways. Sheila, slide please. I've been using transition incorrectly. I thought that transition and change were pretty much the same thing. Not so. In that change focuses on the outcome that the change will produce. That is, a change starts with the outcome in mind. So for example, you live in Ottawa, you hear of a better job in Montreal. The outcome is you want that better job. So the transition is you move to Montreal. Transitions have a different starting point than changes. Not the outcome, but the ending that took place, requiring us to leave the old situation behind. An example might be retirement. One day you're working, and the next day you're retired, you're not working. The transition starts, and it can be a doozy for retirement. The transition starts at the ending of work. We have to transition psychologically, letting go of the old reality and the old identity in which we had a lot invested before we can manage the transition. So a transition starts with an ending, a letting go, and is defined as the process or period of changing from one state or condition to another. Sounds simple. But anybody who's been in a transition, as we all are now, it can feel anxiety, worry, concern, fear, all kinds of stuff. And where does that come from? For me, it comes from the word another, in that we know what ended, we know what we're leaving, but we don't entirely know what's ahead. We don't know what is coming. Unfortunately, our culture gives us very few hints in what to do in that circumstance. We just get the, get on with life or move on messages. And those of us who are addicted to crime shows on TV expect that our issues too will be solved in 22 minutes. It just doesn't happen that way. We have a quick fix culture with its desire for expedience and predictability, and that can override the natural process of transitions and can also cause us to suffer. The Reverend's book has two objectives. The first is to offer us a model to help us navigate through life's changes, that should be transitions, and a map for the journey that we can follow along. And it helps us discover that a major life transition is an opportunity for spiritual rebirth and transformation into an entirely new life. Sheila, please. No, go back one, Sheila, please. There we go, thank you. Are any of these thoughts familiar to you? I feel as if the bottom has dropped out of my life. I don't even know who I am anymore. I feel so alone and so alienated. My life is changing and my head is spinning. Few of us have learned to deal with change or transition and may resist and fear it. The greatest of human fears is fear of the unknown. And I take now from Viktor Frankl's wonderful book, Man's Search for Meaning, that the deepest of all human needs, the fundamental human drive, the prime directive for humans is the need to find meaning in our experiences. It's not so much the event that will change our lives, but the meaning we give to it. Each process has its own predetermined elements, or phases that generally occur in a sequence in particular order. Reverend Brummett, building on the work of Dr. William Bridges, gives us a map with distinct phases of a transition. The map shows us that there are also stages within the transition of physical, psychological, and spiritual development, and that these also occur as a process. There are two bits of good news for those of us who are struggling in this current transition. First is the process has an end to it, and the second is that a major life transition like this one is an opportunity for spiritual rebirth and a transformation into an entirely new life. Sheila? We now turn to the model that Reverend Brummett uses to show the map, the 3 stages of transition. It's from a 2017 book by Dr. William Bridges and Susan Bridges called Managing Transitions, Making the Most of Change. The Bridges model, this is the most current iteration of it, but it goes back a few years, and it's the industry standard for managing corporate change and navigating through that change and recognizing what stage of the change the corporation is in. Think of great mergers or buyouts, etc. Knowing the 3 stages of Bridges' transition model has really helped me over the years, both with my work and personally, and I suspect it will inform and guide us as USCO makes the current transition. Sheila? So here's a picture of the Bridges model. You'll see there are 3 stages to a transition according to Bridges: endings, neutral zone, and new beginnings. You'll also notice that the lines dividing each of the processes is not vertical. That's because it's not entirely, the process is not entirely linear. The phases don't happen necessarily at the same time. Also, some people might be advanced, others might be lingering in a previous stage. It might be better to think of these as 3 distinct phases in a transition, and that the transition isn't finished until each of these phases takes place. Let's consider each of the 3 phases. Sheila? The first phase is endings, and we recall that a transition, unlike a change, starts with an ending. Think of some endings you've experienced, some things that have come to an end for you. Perhaps a marriage lost to divorce, loss of a job. At USCO, we lost the opportunity, from one day to the next to meet in person. Reverend Brummett uses the analogy of the Exodus from Egypt, saying that the Israelites had to leave Egypt and their old selves behind to go to the promised land. An ending involves letting go of old ways and old identities we had. We experience loss and we have to grieve the loss of an ending. I'm reminded of that wonderful song that we often play, Let Go of the Shore. That's the ending, letting go of the shore. Before we can progress through the other stages of transition, we absolutely have to need to acknowledge that something is ending, and we often have to grieve the loss caused by that ending. There are 4 characteristics of endings, as you see on the slide. The first is disengagement. So engagement means to connect with something or someone. The opposite, disengagement, is to release that connection that once existed. Disengagement is both an external and an internal process. Think of a typical rite of passage where a young person leaves the tribe to go live alone and has adventures and experiences dangers, and then the initiate comes back to the tribe, but completely different from when he or she left. Think also about the Israelites disengaging from Egypt and leaving their old selves behind. And even Moses had to disengage from his tribe that were left in the valley alone without him as he ascended the mountain to get the 10 Commandments. The second of the characteristics in endings is disidentification, which is strictly an internal process. We experience a loss of personal identity when we have disengaged from what is known. Grief experienced at endings is largely as a result of the loss of our connection to our former self. It can be scary, and it can be very painful. Yet, if we're willing to let go of our cherished identity and face the fear of the unknown, we become who we truly are. Disidentification means losing the life defined by external things, a job, a marriage, where we live, to find our own divine essence. I like this word, disenchantment. When I think of enchantment, I think of some kind of a spell. And in our cultural paradigm, in the Western world anyway, we are kind of under an enchantment, under a spell. You know, many of us believe that the more stuff, the better, and where we live really matters, and status and clothes and stuff. And at this part, in an ending, we have to get disenchants from that. Spiritual growth will come by stripping away all the outgrown enchantments. Disenchantment feels awful. Values are turned upside down. Our sense of reality is challenged. The bottom has dropped out of our life. Famous author Tolstoy, on turning 50, wrote, "Life had been enchanting. Now it is flat, sober, dead." The fourth aspect of endings is disorientation, where we feel confused. We have no sense of direction, no sense of time, and limited sense of perspective. The roadmaps we used to once guide our lives are now useless. We're in a new territory, but the navigational instruments that we once relied on don't work. We have lost our way and our sense of where we were going in the first place. Sheila? The second of Bridges' phases is called the neutral zone, which Reverend Brummett calls the void. This is the in-between time when the old is gone, but the new isn't yet fully developed and operational. In the song we love so much, we've let go of the shore, and now we're flowing into the mystery. This is the psychological no man's land between the old identity and the new one. The time when the old way of doing things is gone, but we're not quite comfortable yet with the new way of doing things. And in some cases, we might not, in the case of the pandemic, we might not even know what the new beginning is, what the world will look like after we get through this void. It is here where we take time to draw on our deepest resources, opening our new freedom and empowerment, a time of deep healing and transformation. We can mistakenly conclude that the confusion we feel is a sign that something is wrong with us. I've had these conversations with friends over the past while. There isn't anything wrong with us. This confusion is just part of the neutral zone. And it's here where critical psychological realignments and repatterings take place. In order to become who we really are, we must let go of who we're not. And so here it is where we shed old habits and adopt ones that are better adapted to the changed world in which we find ourselves. In my experience with transitions, both in major corporate changes and my personal ones, the neutral zone can be really uncomfortable. It's normal and common to feel the anxiety, much like a trapeze artist who has let go of one bar but hasn't yet grabbed onto the other bar. It can be very uncomfortable, and we can easily feel overwhelmed. In this state, we can become polarized, and this is something Brenda mentioned in her introduction. Some of us want to, in any transition, want to rush forward and get to the new beginning, and some of us want to go back to old ways. We see how this is happening now in our approach to the pandemic. Some of us want to open society and right now, please, and some of us want to keep it closed. That is polarizing us. And yet, if we try to escape the discomfort that is common in the neutral zone, we lose the opportunity of developing into what we need to become, and also the chance to renew ourselves. In the process of transformation, nothing happens before its time. Divine order is at work in our transition, including its timing. After all, it took the Israelites 40 years to get to the promised land. Sheila? Yay, finally, new beginnings. We're out of the neutral zone and we're moving into our new world. We're making a new beginning, and although the song doesn't say it, this is where we reach the opposite shore. Reverend Brummett in his books calls this the promised land. Beginnings are a psychological phenomenon. They're marked by a release of new energy in a new direction. They are expression of a new identity. A new beginning starts as an internal experience, maybe a subtle shift of energy, perhaps a new sense of readiness or a small awakening. New beginnings can only take place after we have spent time in the wilderness and are ready to make the emotional commitment to do things the new way and see ourselves as new people. This can be scary. It can be scary to make a commitment to the new ways, and it can also feel pretty risky because we don't know the new ways. What if they fail? What if they don't serve us? But at this point in the process, we are developing new identities, creating new ways of doing things, experiencing finally new energy, and discovering the new sense of purpose that makes the change begin to work. Sheila? So here's the model again, and I'd just like to pause for a minute and ask you, either on a transition that you're making personally or the transition we're making at USCO, or indeed the mega transition that we're making in the world. Where are you in this process? Endings, neutral zone, or new beginnings? So far as the pandemic goes, I would hazard a guess that many of us are still in the neutral zone, the void. We know for sure that the world has changed, that our old ways of being have ended. We're not really sure what it's going to be like in a few months, hopefully, when we'll experience the new beginning. Sheila, please. So let me use our USCO transition process. So far, we've come a long way, but I don't think we're quite at the promised land yet. We experienced an ending recently, 5-6 weeks ago. We could no longer meet in person, period. Unexpected, unanticipated, final. What that meant, though, was not only the loss of spiritual nourishment, it meant we could no longer get hugs. It meant we could no longer meet our church friends over coffee. This may have generated feelings of loss and isolation, and I know for some of us it hit hard. So we entered the neutral zone, and it didn't take very long. I take no credit for this. This was not my idea. But it didn't take very long for the board to realize that meeting the needs of the USCO community needed to be managed, navigated completely differently. And that the board and some really great people behind the scenes took the time and the effort to get us to be meeting online, virtually through Zoom. It was a steep learning curve to acquire and learn Zoom, and I thank Susan and Sheila for their efforts. Reworking of the services so that they fit the new online process was also a major effort, and I thank you, Linda, for that. Then we had to communicate the changes. Then Sheila and the service facilitators had to teach Zoom at the beginning of each service so congregants could follow along and participate. And thank you, Sonia, for the tutorial on Zoom that you offered. That was so helpful. And we have a new co-host. Thank you, Diana. So we're approaching, at least in service holding, new areas of new beginnings. Within maybe 4 or 5 weeks, we had well-run Zoom services, meeting the needs of our congregants and welcoming many new participants who don't live in Ottawa, but wanted to participate online with us. Sheila, please. Despite the discomfort and our innate need for order and predictability, there's some good news. The transforming power of the transition process lies not in arriving at a certain destination, but our experience of the process itself. Divine power is not only guiding us through the transition, but is the very force that is bringing about the transition and the very welcome resultant transformation. Sheila, please. From Paul's letter to the Ephesians, we are reminded, put off your old nature, which belongs to your former life, and be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and put on the new nature, created after the likeness of God. Sheila. There are some things that we can do no matter where we are in our personal or in this current situation transition. It's any transition, we absolutely must acknowledge that something has ended. We cannot progress unless we acknowledge the end and grieve the loss. We have to let go of the shore in any transition. We also have to accept that the neutral zone will take some time to get through. Hopefully not 40 years, but it's going to take the time it takes. We can also recall Unity's third principle, which states, I create my experiences by what I choose to think and what I feel and believe. And Brenda mentioned surrounding ourselves with visuals that uplift us, not watching news that brings us down. I create my experience by what I choose to think and what I feel and believe. We can also focus on the process, not the arrival point. Very difficult in our goal-oriented society, but we do have to focus on the process. And we can use the time in the neutral zone, if that's where we find ourselves, to deepen our spirituality through many things. There are so many global meditations going on now. There's sacred music. There are people reacquainting with old friends through platforms like Zoom. We can read, we can learn, we can meditate, and perhaps most importantly, we can have faith that there is meaning in this. Despite the anxiety and the feelings of limbo, the neutral zone is not a time of meaningless waiting and confusion. It is instead the time when reorientation and redefinition can and must take place. Sheila, please. There are some other things we can do. I know from a conversation with my own doctor, she led me through some questions. I recognized that what she was asking me, she said, tell me about your day, which led me to believe that having a routine that you set and that you follow can be really important to getting through this difficult time. And of course, this is the absolute time to eat healthy, sleep well, and exercise. We can also cut ourselves from some slack. Time magazine this week asked 100 thought leaders to contribute their thoughts about the pandemic. And Samantha Bee, the comedian, had one of the best lines, I think, in the whole magazine. She said, let's show ourselves some grace. We can come together. Before I go off cutting ourselves slack, there are things we can do to not become sloths. A friend's son is creating a new garden. A girlfriend of mine is giving back by sewing masks. But this may not be the time in terms of the turmoil and confusion that a transition can cause. It may not be the time to take on a huge, complicated project. So USCO made the transition to online services, but I don't think we're completely finished the process. And to continue to improve, we need your feedback, please. We'd like to know what you'd like more of, what you'd like less of, what you'd like differently. we're very open to that. Our transition continues. Sheila, please. From Exodus, stand firm in knowing that the divine will work for you today, and then step forward in faith and courage. Sheila. To conclude, I want to remind us that the transforming power of transition, the process, lies not in our arrival at a certain destination, but in our experience of the conclusion of the process itself. We are so changed by the journey that when we arrive a different person than where we were when we departed and let go of the shore. By fully surrendering to the process of change, we discover that which never changes, a changeless reality beneath and beyond the earthly world. So thank you again to Sheila, and thank you all again, and thank you all very much.
Deb, thank you so much. I am going to recommend to everybody that you sort out a way to go back and look at this talk again. It's being recorded, and Deb, you provided so much content and so much to think about and so many good references. This transition is affecting every single one of us, and these are great resources that you provided, and I personally am so grateful that you did it, and I will review it again because you gave us a lot of really rich nourishment. Thanks. Thank you. Special music. I was so excited when Sheila told me who was coming up as special music this week, because I have been a fan of this woman since the 90s. She's an American singer-songwriter. Her name is Mary Chapin Carpenter. She's an intelligent woman. She writes intelligent songs. And she's been one of these, this league of musicians that has started performing from their kitchen, stripped down to their acoustic guitar. And it suits her milieu perfectly. So the name of her song is Why Shouldn't We? And that's a good question to ask right now. Here is Mary Chapin Carpenter with Why Shouldn't We?
We believe in things that we cannot see. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? And is it he who can set a chained man free? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? We believe in peace within every heart. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Burning brightly in the dark. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, angels at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that will give us hope. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Let your voice be heard, celebrate your vote. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, angels at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that make us all the same. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Love belongs to all, in deed and name. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? We believe in things that can't be done. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Lift up your heart, put down your gun. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? We believe in things we're told that we can't change. Why shouldn't we? We had heroes once, and we will again. Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling. Come on, children. God is all around. Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears our prayers. It's not too late. So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we?
Whoop, I got all caught up with Mary Chapin Carpenter and forgot to turn myself on. I love her. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we give? We can come up with 1,000 reasons why it's not a good idea, and especially now when there's fear all around us and uncertainty and we're not sure, and maybe we should hang on, maybe we shouldn't let go, but this is the time to let go and let flow. Because that's the essence of who we are, divine presence in us, as us, our source, our guidance, our protection. And that remains true no matter what's going on out there. This is constant and abiding. So I invite you to be an active participant in that active divine flow. Substance, nature, and presence. That is you, that is USCO, that is us. It's in the giving we receive it back tenfold. And it's not even just in the giving, it's in the spirit of the giving, right? You can give, and if you're not giving with the proper spirit, you're not really giving. And it's not about how much you're giving, it's about the spirit in which you're giving. So I'm going to invite us to take something that means prosperity to you. Maybe it's your wallet, maybe it's your credit card, maybe it's a coin you got from your grandfather. Hold that spirit and the energy of that. And then with me, let's affirm together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I have, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And USCO is grateful for your gifts because we still have bills to pay. In spite of our outward circumstances, and there are many ways that you can support your spiritual community. You can use the donate button on the website at unityottawa.org. You can download the Tithely app and give that way. You can send an e-transfer through your bank to the email address. You can mail a check the good old-fashioned way. It'll come right along. And if you go to that same website, unityottawa.org, you'll find the mailing address. So please, as I said, exhibit your prosperity. You have to move forward with the confidence that more and more and more and more and more good is on the way here for me now today. Let's together bless this beautiful community together. Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa is abundantly blessed. Creative people are drawn to us. Divine ideas flow through us. Financial resources bless us. And we accomplish mighty works together. The children's blessing we have on the screen, Deb Maloney's grandson, Christopher. But based on something I read this morning, I would also like to add a special blessing and prayer to all the children in hospital, especially in CHEO. I read an article this morning that talked about Michelle Bellberg's a local photographer. She's been doing a series on local heroes. And this morning's was an RN nurse at CHEO. And he was saying how hard it is. So much of communicating with those children is done with your face, and how much more frightening hospital experiences are for children when they can't see the face. So I'm adding all the children that are dealing with that in CHEO and all children's hospitals to our blessing. Let's together affirm, you are the peace, the love, and the light of this world. Let your light shine. It's birthday Sunday, and Diana, you have been compiling a list of all the people whose birthdays are in May that we know about. I'm sure there are some that we don't. So Diana, could I ask you to read the birthday list before we celebrate these people coming to be with us on this earth?
Sure, thank you, Brenda. We have a long list, and May 17, we have 3 people: Gabe McDonald, Clara, and Stephen's Whitley's brother, all on May 17. We have Tom Mason on May 5th, Lynn on May 22nd, Lynn's sister Marie, May 14, Donna, May 21st, and me, May 6th.
All right, well, stand by to receive all of you May babies as your community. I guess you have to kind of imagine that we're all singing to you, but with great gusto and much love and affection, happy birthday. Happy birthday to all of you. I hope you have found a happy medium in which to celebrate with your loved ones. It really truly does take a village to make this happen every Sunday, and the people that have provided the service are committed, socially distanced individuals, and they do it because they care about all of us. They do it with gratitude, and they do it with love. So I'd like to say thank you to all of those people. Our guest speaker, Deb Martin, to Sonia Schumacher, to Mary Way, Lisa Purcell, Deb Maloney, Diana Romero, Linda McCabe, Brenda Mason, the USCO board, and every single one of you who brings your energy to this time together on this screen. Where would we be without us? And we're the us in USCO. And I'm just going to throw in here, it's really disconcerting doing this job. Linda can relate to what I'm saying because you get no feedback. It's just like you're talking. It's like, I guess we're like radio disc jockeys, just putting it out into space. But we need you, we appreciate you, we love you. Next week, We have a guest speaker. Her name is Cheryl Driscoll, and her talk is entitled Finding Happiness Even, actually the one I had says Uncover Your Happiness. I guess maybe it's Uncover Your Happiness, Finding Happiness Even During Difficult Times. And again, that's going to be a timely message because it's so much increasingly our job to keep our own happiness leading the way, because it's really easy to lose track of it to other outside forces. I look forward to it. All the full information about everything coming up is in the weekly newsletter. Again, I remind you, Unity Office, Unity Ottawa at yahoo.ca is the email address to sign up and receive more information. Remember, Mary Way is on duty all week this week as your prayer partner. And there are lots of ways to pray. Unity is all about prayer. We all know that. You can email a prayer request to the office Unity Ottawa at yahoo.ca to request a prayer. You can go online to unity.org. You can download the YouPray app. And of course, 24/7, you can call Silent Unity at 1-800-NOW-PRAY. But the most important thing is no matter how you reach out, reach out. It's, you know, we're seeing more and more that people, when these feelings come over us, the first thing we feel is that we, for whatever reason, aren't worth being in contact. So reach out. I think that's covered it. We're going to close our service with our 2 songs, and then we're going to stick around for fellowship. It will be at that time that you turn on your camera. For now, we're going to do we'll do it after. We'll talk about it after the service, after we've stopped the recording. I wish you all a beautiful week filled with sunshine and beautiful weather and new beginnings. So join together virtually and share our prayer of protection. God bless.